Good morning, everyone. Today we have a 2006 Acura MDX. We're going to be doing a CompuStart keyless entry remote start only. I'll show you how it's done the proper way. Let's do this. First things first, you have to pop this off. There's going to be one screw here. And this whole bottom dash is pretty much held by clips, so just kind of pull it towards this way on both ends. Just try to do it slowly. You do have to take this off. You have to take this off, and same goes to the passenger side, so you can access all the wires. You also kind of have to put down the glove box so you can access the location to zip tie the wires. Other than that, also you have to take this off. There'll be 3 screws and this whole thing just separates. Other than that, let's get started. So that will conclude the ignition harness side of the install. You can kind of just match up every wire that I did, and also here's the diagram. If you want to label them, you're more than welcome to, but these are all the wires that you would need. So I went ahead and put that back, so that's pretty much done. Just kind of try your best to make it clean. I put back the original loom on it, even though it's kind of bulky due to the added wires, but I can't really leave it just like that, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next step, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, as you can see, we finished the ignition harness. Now we'll move on to the immobilizer bypass part of it. And for this one, you're gonna want to run the wire kind of going through here. That way when you go up and down with the steering wheel, it doesn't get pinched or anything like that. It's going to be zip tied to this harness. To start off, we'll do the key sensor. The key sensor will be plugged in right here. So it'll be a blue plug. You will need the blue and white wire. And you'll hook up the black wire of the CompuStart, which is a negative ground status. That way the key or the vehicle would think that the key is in it when you remote start it. So what that will do is not allow the dome light to stay on. So go ahead and hook that up, and then we'll move on to the immobilizer bypass. So for this process, we are going to do the data signal and the immobilizer information. You'll start off on the bypass module's wiring harness. You will use the orange black, going to pin number 2, red, just the second one right there. For the security light, this one you're going to require to cut the pink wire, which is pin number 5. The white black goes to the plug side of the immobilizer harness. And the other side going towards the car would be the white red from the immobilizer. So like I said, this one you have to cut the pink wire in half. This basically shuts down the security light while it's remote started. So this one's kind of a pain in the ass to reach, but I was able to solder it. So I'm going to tape it back up, start the car with the key, and relearn it all, and go from there. We'll move on to the next step. Here's a better view of the plug where you can find the key sense wire. It's the blue plug, and the immobilizer plug would be next to it. Make sure you just kind of leave a little bit of slack. That way the wire has somewhere to go. I'm going to clean all this up later on, obviously. Right now, everything is kind of just everywhere, but once it's all said and done, this will all be zip tied, secured together. It'll look like it belongs here. So those are the 2 plugs you need, and then we'll move on to the parking light and brake wire. Alright, this is for the parking light positive signal and the brake wire positive signal. For the parking light, you will need the green white from the CompuStart. It will go to the red and black. That's this pin location right here. And for the brake wire, you will need the white black from the plug. That'll go to the blue and white from the CompuStar, and the location for that would be on the passenger or on the driver's side fuse box. It'll be on that open location right here, and it just plugs in, so it's easier to release it and wire it up that way than you trying to wire it while it's still plugged in. So I'll go ahead and clean this up and plug this back in, and always make sure. Right now I have the unit loose, so I can go ahead and test it here as well. I already tested it, but I want to show you how to test it. So let's go ahead and clean this up, test everything, move on to the next step. Here's also how you test it. As I mentioned earlier, the green white from the CompuStar unit that's connected to the parking light on that plug that I just showed you. I'll go ahead and turn on the parking light. As you can see, turns off with the stock parking light, on and off. So that's kind of how you test it. I already tested it before that, but I just wanted to show you a quicker way to do it. So that's the parking light, and do the same thing with the brake wire. It'll be this white, blue and white. Do the same exact thing, step on the brake, and then test it that way. Alright, this is the hardest step out of the whole install. You will be extending the lock output, unlock, the rearm output, and the disarm. I'm only running the lock and unlock just as a backup. On this install, you're only going to hook up the orange and orange white. This will control the door locks and factory alarm disarms. What it will do is, before starting, it will unlock it, disarm the factory alarm, remote starts it, and then it locks it back. This 2-wire alone does 2 different things. So the orange does the lock and arming of the factory alarm. Orange white does the unlock and disarms the factory alarm. Go ahead and loom it, split loom. If you don't have a split loom, just go ahead and wrap it in tape, because this will be going from this side where the unit is all the way to the passenger side behind the glove box and the passenger kick panel. That's where all the wires are. So I'll go ahead and show you where I'm going to run it. I'm going to move it outside of the garage, that way I can open the passenger door since my car's on the other side. Odd thing, when I was doing an install, this puppy just kind of showed up out of nowhere and just kind of chilled here as I do the install. So kind of odd, but he's here. Pretty sweet dog. Hopefully find him a new home, just because I can't take any more animals. I already got 2 dogs and a cat. So good boy. If anybody's looking closer to Wichita, Kansas, I don't want to have to give him to the Humane Society. So yeah, let's back up the vehicle and then proceed to install. Alright, to run the wires from the driver's side to the passenger side kick panel, I found it easiest to remove the radio and the climate control, just so I can see where the wires are running. Some people would just try to shoot from one side to another. I don't like it that way, because I can't see what the wires are going to be leaning on, and I don't want any pipes or anything like that, especially with these one got the rear climate control vent, so I didn't want anything that's hot to rub on it, so I prefer to see what I'm going to zip tie it to. So I'll go ahead and remove that. This thing just pops off the bezel, nothing but clips. Unplug 3 plugs. There will be a screw right here, same goes on the other side, and then be right here, same goes on the other side, nothing but Phillips. Go ahead and pull that out, and we'll see if we can find a way to mount this wiring harness behind it. Now that you got the radio out, just kind of pulled it to the front a little bit. As you can see, it's a lot easier to run the wire from that opening. Zip tie it, and then same goes to the other side, zip tie it, and now you are at the fuse box location. So as you can see, it's a little bit easier doing it this way, but it's kind of the only way, in my opinion, the safest way to do it. But you can do it however you desire, and let's move on to the next step. So I showed you how to run the wire from the driver's side to the passenger side. As you can see, the zip tie is holding it together. Make sure it goes over the cabin filter cover. That way when it needs to be replaced, it's not in the way. Just go ahead and follow that zip tie, and that's where you should come out at the passenger kick panel. That's where that tack signal and the arm and disarm wires will be. For the arm and disarm, it looks like I had to add pins. It's missing the pin that shows on the diagram. It was located in this position right here that's empty, and this one. Sorry about that. It looks like I had to add a pin. This is just a normal radio pin that I depinned from a plug, so I'll go ahead and try that and see if it works out. So I had to find a different type of plugs. Apparently these ones are too thin and too small, so I went ahead and found one from an original engine harness. As you can see, that's where the pins are. Here's one, I already inserted it, and the other one is right there. So if I touch it like this, you can see, you can hear the door locks locking and locking. So that's pretty much your indicator that everything is plugged in the way it should be. Alright, we got everything finished and tested and everything, so I will just go ahead and show you the operation of the unit. Obviously you have the lock and unlock, so I'll go ahead and lock it. And that's basically arming the factory alarm as well. Once the remote starts, it will unlock the doors to disarm the factory alarm, and then once it's running, it'll lock it back. You'll hear it on the background. That's the unlock. It'll lock back. Now another also feature that what that key sense wire does, if you don't wire it up, the dome light would stay on while it's remote started, because it needs to sense the key for the dome light to shut off. So just to kind of give you a quick general idea, just go ahead and unlock it. Obviously mimic you getting in. As you can see, it stays on and it turns back off, and that's how it should be. Let's go ahead and do the takeover. As you can see, the dome light is not staying on. Now if you didn't wire the key sense, you'd have to turn this setting off so it's not turning on and off with the doors, and I don't really like it that way. Just kind of might as well do it the right way the first time. So as you can see, everything's working. Vehicle is running, no issues, no lights, and that's pretty much wraps everything up. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Please click subscribe and hit the thumbs up. Thank you. So I had everything finished. Just to kind of show you where I mounted the brain, it's zip tied to this harness, to this metal bracket right here, and then to the harness right here. So nothing's hanging, nothing's binding or anything like that. I'll go ahead and start putting everything back. The bottom panel just pops on, and there will be one screw right here. Other than that, everything is done, and that's pretty much all there is to it.